Remove the bundled DC jack wire from your parts kit and stretch it out completely. Using a tape measure, measure out approximately 8 inches and using a pair of wire cutters, cut the DC jack to length. Install the DC jack wire into the 1/8 inch or 5/32 inch hole drilled back in the initial part of the installation. Split the wire down the center so that you have at least 2 or 3 inches of individual wires to work with. Using a pair of wire strippers, remove approximately 1/2 inch of insulation from both of the black wires on the DC power jack. Then with a pair of wire strippers, remove approximately 1/2 inch of insulation from both of the brown wires. Twist one brown wire and one black wire together and do the same for the remaining pair. It makes no difference which brown wire goes to which black wire for this installation. Slide one closed-end connector over the end of each wire connection and using a pair of wire crimpers, securely fasten the closed-end connector into place. At this time, all ballast wiring is completed. Double check all connections to make sure they are securely in place and get ready to close the ballast box. Reinstall the ballast cover plate initially removed during the beginning of the installation. Then place the plastic end caps back into place and use the included screws to fasten them into place securely. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove all screws holding the splash guard into place. Then, once all screws have been removed, remove the splash guard and set aside for reinstallation later. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove the 2 screws holding the rear reflector in place. Once the 2 screws have been removed, set the rear reflector aside until it needs to be reinstalled later on in the installation. Remove the rubber bands holding the bulbs in place, then pull them out of the end cap sockets. Set the bulbs aside somewhere safe where they will not be damaged during the install. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove all 4 screws holding the front reflector in place, as well as the 6 screws holding the 3 moonlights in place. Set the screws aside for later reinstallation. Once the reflector has been set aside, using a Phillips head screwdriver, remove each of the 2 screws holding both end caps in place. Flip over the end caps and you should notice the capacitor on the bottom of the end cap. The capacitors will be removed in the next step. Use a small flathead screwdriver to pop open the tabs on the bottom of the end cap. Once you've pried out the bottom 2 tabs, flip over the end cap and repeat the same procedure for the 2 tabs on the top of the end cap. Once you've pried out the 2 top tabs, carefully remove the center piece from the end cap. Note that if you get a little stuck, you might have to re-pry out some of the tabs in order to get the center out. Remove the center of the end cap to expose the copper clips on the inside. With your flathead screwdriver, carefully pry up the copper prongs holding the capacitor wires in place. Remove the capacitor, then use your flathead screwdriver to put pressure back on the copper springs again. Once tension has been placed back on the copper springs, reinsert the center piece of the end cap back into place. Using the red wire from the Workhorse 22 ballast that was removed previously, cut two 2-inch sections and strip 1/2 inch of insulation from the end of the wires. Fold them into a U-shape and then install the jumper on the right side of the end cap, and using the second jumper, install it on the left-hand side of the end cap. Once both jumpers are in, repeat the same process for your second end cap. Using a pair of wire cutters, cut the blue wires coming from the transformer about halfway between the transformer and the circuit board. Using a pair of wire strippers, remove approximately 1/2 inch of insulation from both blue wires. Strip approximately 1/2 inch of insulation from both brown wires inside the canopy. Twist together the brown and the blue wires, then crimp together using one closed-end connector for each pair. Once the two connections have been made and the closed-end connectors are securely fastened, make sure that the 3-pin connector is securely plugged into the circuit board, otherwise your fans will not power on. Using the screws removed previously, remount your end caps back into the canopy. Next, you'll reinstall your reflector back into the canopy as well. Use the screws removed previously to reinstall the reflector and also the 3 moonlights. Reinstall the yellow wire with the grounding ring below the bottom right-hand corner mounting screw just below the bulb clip. With your bulb end caps and reflector securely in place, reinstall your bulbs. Using the 2 screws removed previously, reinstall the rear reflector plate into the back of the canopy. Finally, reinstall the splash guard using the splash guard mounting screws removed previously. At this point, your installation should be finished and ready to run. Remember, this is a version 1.0 set of instructions, so if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email.